A number of memorial services are being held in memory, of course, of the late ambassador. One of them is currently underway. The International Relations Department remembering Nathi Mthethwa in Pretoria.
I want to take this opportunity to invite Minister Ronald Lamola, the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, to give the keynote address for today. Minister, you have the...
Yeah, thank you very much, Ambassador DDG Mabongo. Umndeni kaMthethwa nabakaButhelezi, the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Alvin Potts, the Deputy Minister of Justice, Honorable Nal, the ANC Secretary General, Comrade Nomvula Mkonyana, Umama Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, the former chairperson of the African Union, and also various roles in our government, the Director General of the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, former Minister Zulu and Dlodlo, and other colleagues I might not have seen, former Ambassador Jerry Machila and other ambassadors, former ambassadors who are here, the Acting Deputy Director General for Europe and Americas, Ambassador M. Bona, the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, His Excellency Ambassador Abdu, the Ambassador of France to South Africa, Ambassador David Martino, and all ambassadors, high commissioners, and all heads of missions, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Umndeni kaMthethwa nakaButhelezi sithi akuhlanga okungehlanga. Umama uphilisiwe Mthethwa Buthelezi naye sithi kuye dudu. Sinkosi ayinikeza amandla ukuthi nikhona ukudlula kulobunzima enikupho. Our gathering here today is a somber reminder that Ambassador Nathi Emmanuel Mthethwa is no more. More than a week ago, our nation received the harrowing news of Ambassador Mthethwa's passing. With this news, hordes of people who loved and shared pivotal memories during his life with him as a son, a father, a husband, brother, colleague, friend, comrade, and diplomats were confronted with the unimaginable grief and deep sense of sorrow and loss. The news of his passing shook us all profoundly, reminding us of the fragility of life and the fleeting nature of time. We have indeed suffered a monumental loss. At the time of his departure, the ambassador had been serving as our highest-ranking diplomat in France, South Africa's ambassador extraordinary to France, and accredited to Monaco. As the president remarked in his tribute, amongst Ambassador Mthethwa's achievements in this role, which he had occupied since 2023, we count the deepening relations between South Africa and the Republic of France, and advancing our contribution to transforming global power relations. In paying homage to the ambassador, His Excellency Jean-Noël Barrot, the Minister of Europe and Foreign Affairs of France, described him as a friend of France and lauded his contribution to deepening the ties between our two countries. I pause for a moment, Ambassador David Martino, to thank the government of France on behalf of the government of the Republic of South Africa for your cooperation and support since the untimely departure of Ambassador Mthethwa. You supported us. You also supported his family from that moment until his mortal remains departed last night. I can confirm that Ambassador Mthethwa's mortal remains have now landed in the Republic of South Africa. He will shortly be en route back to KZN, where he will be laid to rest in his lovely rural area of Gwambonambe. Since South Africa and France normalized relations in 1994, our two countries have enjoyed warm and enduring ties, demonstrated by regular exchanges and dialogues on political, economic, and defense issues. We've exchanged ideas and built trust through regular political and economic diplomatic engagements. France has become one of South Africa's key economic partners. Trade between our countries has grown steadily since the pandemic. South Africa remains the leading destination for French exports to sub-Saharan Africa. Accounting for 16% of the total, French exports are led by chemicals, cosmetics, perfumes, and followed by industrial and agricultural machinery. France, in turn, imports transport equipment, vehicles, hydrocarbons, avocados, steel, precious stones, aluminium, also cooperation on nuclear with South Africa. These exchanges reflect more than figures. They tell a story of partnership, respect, and shared progress. It was within this dynamic space that Ambassador Mthethwa worked his quiet magic. One of his last acts of quiet magic was coordinating the South Africa's investment conference in Paris, in France, led by Deputy President Paul Mashatile in May this year. Since its inception in 2018, this investment forum has seen French companies commit over 70 billion South African rands in sectors such as renewable energy, generation, manufacturing, retail, agribusiness, and services. Through skill and patience and conviction, Ambassador Mthethwa deepened the bond between our two nations and opened new paths for cooperation and understanding. During our last political consultations in May with my counterpart in France, Minister Bomet, there is one topic that Ambassador Mthethwa really enjoyed. It was the discussion that was very robust on the question of Western Sahara. He enjoyed this discussion because a month or so before we had these political consultations with France, France had, during a debate in Parliament, begged the authority of Morocco over Western Sahara. So as I arrived in France, he said, Minister, before I give you all the briefing, the first one is Western Sahara. Then we can have all these other discussions. And he ensured that this becomes one of the issues that there were robust engagements with the French authorities in our engagements. They remained with their position, but we affirmed South Africa's positions on our support for Western Sahara, for their self-determination. And we explained the grounds of the government of South Africa's position with regards to Western Sahara self-determination policies, given our history and the various rulings in international platforms and international law, including the UN Charter. But our relations with France remains cordial, and we had a lot of agreements, including the investment drive by the Deputy President that followed a week after this engagement. Ambassador Mthethwa's journey in service of the South African people was long and a daunting one. I was also fortunate when I came into cabinet. He was one of the ones who were appointed long before some of us. And we were young, we saw him as a political commissar of the ANC Youth League. So I didn't expect that he will still be a commissar in cabinet. So after I was sworn in, he greeted me differently, because we used to greet each other as comrades. I will just say Nyambus. And he will say, yeah, Comrade Lamola. But after I was sworn in, he changed. And he called me Holode. I said, where did you learn Xitsonga? He said, no, remember I was deployed at the constituency in Bushbuckridge. So during my times there in Bushbuckridge, he had some basic understanding of Xitsonga. So he called me Holod, and he said, because now you are a minister, I'm no longer going to call you comrades in these corridors. I will call you comrades in the rallies and in the ANC. I thought this matter will end there. In our first meetings in cabinet, not only Nyambus, but most of the senior comrades, because ourselves were still new, we didn't know that in cabinet you don't say comrade Nkosazana, you don't say comrade Nalit. So I was saying comrade, they say, yeah. There is no comrade here, minister. Then after 2-3 minutes again, the tongue slips. They say, yeah. Then I look at Nyambus because he was also not sitting far from me. I was hoping that maybe he's going to bail me out of this. He says, hey, remember, I told you are now Holod. So I understood that, that is what he was telling me after the swearing in, that now there is a cabinet etiquette that you are now expected to abide to. And we can call each other comrades outside this platform. So that was a good lesson that I learned, and I can tell you now that it now comes natural in cabinet to say Minister Dlamini Zuma, Minister so and so. But it also comes natural that when we're outside, I can now say comrade. But it's not an easy thing when you are arriving. And I was not alone. Even my other younger ministers, they will also sometimes have this slippery of the tongue. And they will be called to order to call minister so and so. And we have learned from that. So this reflected a good generational mix that our society needs to move forward, to learn from the experienced comrades, but also to come in the younger generation to infuse a sense of agency in executing the national democratic revolution. As an activist and as a member of parliament, as a former minister, and recently as an ambassador, ourselves as the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, we want to thank the Mthethwa family for having allowed him to be an ambassador. And he transcended beyond being a cabinet minister into be an ambassador. As Ambassador Mabongo was saying, it's not the same. It sounds the same like it's a public representation. But the roles of ambassador, they differ. And sometimes you have to receive your former cabinet colleagues. Nyambus used to do it in France. He received me on my first visit. And also when I asked other colleagues, he used to do it. And it was only when it was practically impossible that he would not do it. But he executed his duty of being an ambassador, of serving with humility, and also the Deputy President, Paul Mashatile, appreciated his role when he did the investment drive. He didn't mind that there are some now, like ourselves in cabinet, who might be junior to him. But he felt that his service to this country supersede anything. He is now the ambassador representing the President of the Republic of South Africa. And he did this job without any qualms. When there were issues, we will interact with Nyambus, guide each other, agree and disagree. But he will speak his politics. We will also give him our own context on the issues and the duty that he was supposed to do, and also carry and give him instructions, which he carried without any questions once a decision is made, as an ambassador of the Republic of South Africa. And he did the same for President Ramaphosa. he will execute all instructions and tasks as per what ambassadors are expected to do. And for that, I can hear from Abagam Mthethwa, where does that come from? The upbringing and all those made it possible for Ambassador Mthethwa to play the role of transcending from being a minister into an ambassador, which I emphasize is not the same. It sounds the same, like it's a public representation, you are representing South Africa, but the roles and tasks are hugely different. So we are very grateful, but I also want to thank our staff in Paris who were holding the fort since his departure. They attended to all issues and made sure that all the procedures and processes in France are taken care of, but also in the head office, as they were led by the DDG Lomo. She is not here today. She will have been here, but I left her last night in Brussels. She is continuing with the task because she is responsible for Europe and the Americas. I was fortunate to get a lift from the president to arrive this morning. So, but she is still there. And we also want to thank the DG, Dengo, also for his guidance to all the staff. During this has been a very difficult period for the staff in the mission in Paris and also in the department, but they have been holding the fort and they will carry on. The struggle continues. Ngalawo mazwi ngiyabuyela futhi kokaMthethwa nabakabuthelezi sithi dudu akwehlanga okungehlanga unyambosi makalale ngekuthula masenimbeka endlini yakhe ekugcina kombonambi ngesonto elizayo. Ngiyabonga.